What's going on, guys? 018 Seth Shadow here. Today's another day with lots of items to cover for Market Watch. We've had a few announcements today for new items coming for set 9 in Japan, and we also have the results of the latest BCS tournaments, as well as some overall results of all of them. But to come out of the whole thing, one thing is for certain. Eva, with the introduction of results of the experiment henceforth, now reigns supreme in terms of the BCS results. Worlds will still occur in January, and with Set 7 being legal for that, there could be quite a shift with Youthberg being one of the favorites to win the whole thing, or at least to be seen in play. But as you can see, results of the experiment henceforth, while it was on its downward path towards $20, I suppose the toppings have just stopped that drop, and now the card is a minimum of $33 to pick up for its common, and the foil is now at least $41. And one other call out is Dragon Ritter Halbe is now available to pick up on TCG Player. Or I should say, it was available. There was only one listing with 4 copies for $50 a piece, and someone already ate that up. For those of you who don't know, this card is the big promo card that has been anticipated for Dragonic Overlord. The card can be discarded for an Overlord ability, and it'll count as 2 cards. This way, when you use Dragonic Overlord at the end, you don't have to discard 2 cards anymore. You only have to discard this card, and that's the whole cost. On top of that, it has a second ability which hasn't been listed here, where it calls itself after being discarded by such an effect, and then it gives itself another 5k. Mind you, it can only be called to the back row, but it's still really powerful. It's effectively a free call from your hand when after your Vanguard swings. Now, as to what this card's valuation is going to be, I would anticipate it will stay in around the same range as a result of the experiment. It may even be lower. It should be a little more available given that it's supposed to be released with Set 7 boxes as a shop promo. The problem is many stores have had delays of this promo pack, meaning that there aren't that many on the market yet. So you'll have to wait for more Set 7 to get cracked open, as well as more stores to actually get their copies, which will take some time. Then we've got Elementaria Sanctitude, which is now a $22 card minimum with 10 listings. And as far as I know, the trial decks which this comes out of have all been bought out to the point of $25 to $30. So if you really don't want to buy the trial deck, this is still kinda high in comparison to just buying them at about $25 a piece, but it is cheaper than buying the trial deck overall, so do keep that in mind. Now this one I didn't see until just now. Shelling Cannon Dragon has been bought out again! $15 was the last sale, and now we've only got $20 listings. We're back on our undulation of it being at the top of its value, and then it will probably fall out again as more listings become available. Well, at some point it's got to stop, right? Maybe this will be the point? Maybe not. But I would guess that players who already have their Flagberg support aren't going to be picking this up at $20 anyway. And then you've got Set 7. Now that the set has been officially released, let's take a look at the singles. We've got the FFR of Tempest sitting at 250 minimum. Drajul's DSR is 200, and then the DSR of Nirvana Jiva is about 125. Yikes. The fact that Tempest is more expensive than either of the DSRs in this set is... yikes. What else have we got here? Welstra saw a fall to under the $40 mark, but thanks to new reveals from Set 9 that happened this morning, the card got bought back out to the $60 mark for its FFR. And then you've got the regular Tempest, which is now $30 to pick up. It did drop to $25, but those got eaten up really fast, and now it's back to the $30 mark. Drajeweld is now $15 minimum to pick up. And then one thing to keep note of with set 7 is that the FRs in this set have some pretty lofty valuations. Some of them being like Witch of Accumulation's Aquana. This card has 14 listings and is now $14 minimum, but it's sold closer to $20 for its FR. And honestly, that's not too surprising given that this card is a staple in Youthberg decks. Then you've got stuff like Wayward Therapy Angel, which also is rising in value for its FR. And upon release of the set, this thing was closer to $50, $60. And someone did buy copies for $50, surprisingly. Since then, though, it's fallen back out, but it's on its way back up as well. This card is generic, but at this point, only Youthberg can really play it. Bastion can use its effect, but I would not see anyone actually play this in Bastion. Valkyrie Performer is also rising in value from its initial valuations. It was a $12 market price. Sold for $30 a few times, I think. And then the thing I do want to talk about is Welstra. As I mentioned, Set 9 revealed some new product cards for the Blitz series. Well, it revealed one new product as well as one new product operator. So Welstra has gone back up. The card was getting down to the $3 mark, and just from today, it's been bought out. Look at the number of listings that sold just from today, and there are still more. The thing is, since Set 9 isn't even available in Japan yet, I don't think it's likely that this buyout can maintain, and since more Set 7 is likely to be cracked open over time, this card might see more listings that will fall back out, but I think this card might settle around $5 again, at least for a little while, until we start to see some more results from Japan. Valkyrie Performer is up a little bit to close to $7. Sequana is also about $7. Kyrebray is pretty cheap right now. It's falling out really hard for being a generic card that you can pick up for Cater Sanctuary. It looks at the top 3 cards and then calls a card from it. And then it only calls it if it's a grade 2 or less. Otherwise, you actually add that card to your hand. So it's basically like a Youthberg, but as a rear guard. And this card can be played, as I mentioned, generically in almost any deck in Cater Sanctuary. Other FRs you might want to pay attention to include stuff like Brighters to Maximum, now that Welstra is getting some more attention. Lagoon de Shot has been pretty popular over the last few days. Tier Knight Arx is another one that you'll want to keep an eye out for. Flagberg is still a pretty popular deck. And then the World Origin trigger has dropped out below $3. So I imagine it'll become closer to $2, similar to the Cater Sanctuary one. Elpin is about $3 now too, and we'll see what happens next year when Magnolia, if Magnolia comes off the list. But that's a wrap for Set 7 talk today. Now, let's talk about some other lofty valuations that are on the market right now, like Eldo Breath. Why is it $500? Because it's an SP. Okay, so why is it $500, huh? Yeah, this card hasn't sold for higher than $55, so just don't buy into this. Rancor Chain is another one. $25 is the highest point it sold at, and a lucky soul managed to get this for under $10. But now there's only one listing at 101, lightly played. Who's this guy even kidding? There's no way someone's going to buy this at a lightly played status for over 100. But to talk about stuff that's still cheaper on set 1, you've got Eugene, which also got new support from set 7. Despite that, the card is still a pretty easy pickup at $3, a little bit lower than that. While it's SP, don't be deceived. It has one $5 listing that's basically $10. It's also lightly played, and after that, it's $13 plus. So if you want the SP, it is still a little high. Eugene has some potential with Oswald, which came out with set 7, because it allows Eugene to restand. So it has some potential in premium play, but it's still rather weak overall because Oswald takes away all crits and reduces the drive of the Vanguard to 1. Then some other cards that I want to talk about from set 2 of Lyrical Melody. There's been a fallout on this set, starting with Eileen. This card was selling for $20 for a little while, but now it's kind of slowed down in sales, so sellers are now trying to get rid of it for $15 and lower. Which is okay, given that this card was consistently selling at $8 in the past, so if you can pick it up for $13 or $12, that might be okay. $15 might still be a little high. But this set has no reprints on the horizon, so there is another chance of this going back up in value. And the same goes for Hoppin' Stellar Melty, which has also fallen out from its $40, $45, $50 to $25 and one seller listing at $20. Which is honestly what it was selling for before the buyout, so this might be a good price point to get into. Although I should mention Melty is still only really played in Kyrie in terms of more competitive lyrical decks, so it really depends on just how popular Kyrie becomes in English meta. Finally, you've got the draw trigger from set 2 Baratoy. I did say last time that $16 might become the norm for this, but it seems that sellers are trying to sell this a little bit cheaper now, closer to $14. And it seems that there was a lucky buyer who managed to pick this up at $6. Now, will it get back down to $6? There might be a few sellers who are that willing, but otherwise, if you really wanted to pick up the draw trigger, I just don't think this thing can get under $10 for the majority of listings that are going to be available from now on. Then, on the cheaper side of things, we've got a card that you might want to consider for Youthberg, Decisive Axe Dragon. This card is a perfect guard restrict. Basically, it prevents normal units from being called to Guardian so long as your Vanguard was ridden by a card ability. So, Youthberg support, which is why this card exists in set 6. This card is a frame rare at the $2 valuation, and then it also has its double R, which is, how many listings are under 50 cents? Not too many. Okay, there's one on the first page. There are a few listings that you can pick up for 25 cents of this card, so don't be fooled by the 50-cent to $1 listings, as you can find a few on the second page that are cheaper. Then you've got Performing Pedal Diantha. While this card still has a good amount of listings available, its price has been creeping upward. It used to be $9 to $10, now it's at least $11 to pick up. So, it's still an okay price point, but this is a generic card for Stoichia, so it won't be too surprising to see this keep rising until we get the reprint of set 6 in March. But, to that same point, Diantha's FFR is sold out. And the last sell was $75, then we had them sell in the $60 range. So, now the question is, how many more listings of this will get up there before this card gets reprinted in March? On the same topic of set 6, Combine Rusher has seen an enormous buyout. It was $18 for a little while, then it was $24 for a hot minute. And now the card is $40. So you're going to have to wait until the March reprint if you want this card at a lower value. It might go back to $30, but I don't think it can get much lower than that. So, yeah, I don't really know what to tell you about that. As for the FFR, $100 plus on its sales and $100 plus on its listings. So if you still want to pick up this card, $100 has been a constant sell. Any higher than that, I'd say put it off. The reprint set is coming, but if you need to play Eva and you got on the train too late, you're paying the price, so to speak. Finally, to wrap things up, I talked about the new Drag Ritter promo, and here is Overlord. With the new promo available, now we can take a look in real on how Overlord is looking, as it's going to be a fan favorite to play with the team tournaments coming up. The original Dragonic Overlord from A Brush with Legends is now $4 to pick up for its RRR, and its SP is one listing under 20. How many more are under 20? There are a few. And one guy has 4 copies of it, although I don't see players buying more than 1 copy of this in the first place. Unless you really want to play this main deck for another promo that's coming out in Japan. I wouldn't recommend it, but how you decide on your strategy is completely up to you. Dragonic Overlord the End, on the other hand, has had some pretty crazy spikes. The RRR is now $20 minimum with only 4 listings, by the way. So you're going to want to pick this up quickly if you need to play Overlord. But the End's SP is not too far away in value right now. They're $30 moving up to... Okay, now it's starting to get away. $35 to $40 with every single seller only having 2 copies maximum. So, but the thing about this one is that, remember, Dragonic Overlord the End has 3 high rarities. And the mid-tier one, the 10th SP rare, got bought out. It sold for $50 recently and now only has listings as high as $90. Whether or not it will actually sell at that value, I'm not sure. And finally, you've got the secret rare version with only 4 listings at $280 and higher. It has been selling at this value, with a few listings that keep coming up just below it, but then those get eaten up rather quickly. So if you wanted the secret rare, well, those lofty valuations are here to stay at this point, so you're just going to have to hope that the incoming Chronojet will push some of these values down, as players may want to play Chronojet instead of some of these other decks. Thanks for watching today's Market Watch. To wrap up before my usual spiel at the end, with team tournaments coming up next year, favorites to keep your eye on will definitely be among Chronojet Dragon, Youthberg, Dragonic Overlord, and then you'll still have decks to consider like Eva, as well as Kairi. Mahir Nirvana is still a decent favorite over here. And we've had some pretty interesting tops like Greedon and so forth that you might even see. But do keep in mind that while there will likely be a high rate of diversity in the tournaments, there are still decks that are fan favorites that I mentioned initially. So if you do want to pick up on any of those fan favorite decks, you better start hunting for some good bargains before the tournament starts. If you did enjoy this video, please like and subscribe. If you have any requests for future items for the Market Watch, just let me know and I will see about incorporating them. And I will see you guys again this week later.